Howdy folks, Hulkrex here, and welcome to Thoughts from the Inner Sphere, episode 54. And today we're going to be talking about the Jenner, the 35-ton mech. That's a light mech that sees a little bit of action in my group on some occasions. It's a good mech and a bad mech. And wondering, okay, it does a lot of good things and it has some drawbacks, and we're going to talk about those things, which can be mitigated through some modifications of the mech, which, you know, some people is like, oh, the holy and pristine, you know, leave it alone as a book, you don't modify things. But, you know, I'm a tinker, I like to change things. Now let's just delve into it. Now, the Jenner 35 tons is a 7-11-5. Alright, so it can walk 7, run 11, which is pretty decent speed. It can get around, which throws it directly into the scouting role. And with 5 jump jets, it can maneuver. And a lot of times with your light mechs, you're going to need that maneuver ability, because this thing only has 64, yes, that's correct, 64 armor points. So to give you a good example, you hit this mech anywhere with an AC 10 and you're going in and causing a chance for critical. Let that sink in. So what's your friend as a light mech? Speed. So 7-11, just like the Slurpee. Well, some of you may not know what a Slurpee is, because there's not very many 7-Elevens out there. You have to go hunt for them. Alright, weapons. This thing carries an SRM-4 in the center torso with 1 ton of ammo, and 4 medium lasers, 2 in each arm, and obviously the 5 jump jets, which are in the right torso, center torso, and left torso. So 2 in each of the other torsos and 1 in the center, which leaves you a little bit of space left. I think its thing has maybe one heat sink that gets chucked someplace, and that might be, I'm not sure, one of the right or left torso. I can't remember. Now, what do you do with this thing? Alright, obviously with being a 7-11 and a 5 with some jump jets, you're going to be doing the scouting role. And also you can toss this mech into the anti-scout role too, because, well, it's got some decent firepower, but with that decent firepower is a major drawback. Did I say it only has 10 heat sinks? How much heat does this mech cause? Okay, let's add this up. 4, let's see, that's 4 medium lasers, that's 12, 8 SRM-4, that's 3 heat, so that's 15. So if you fire everything, you're already up. Without any movement modifiers, this thing is going to be at 5 on the heat scale. And when you're up 5 on the heat scale, you're already putting yourself in a -1 modifier for movement. And what's the thing that kills light mechs? Slowing them down. Yep. So if you fire all your weapons and you do a little jump 5, that's 20. You're up 10. Let that sink in. 10 on the heat scale. So this is a mech that can be, you know, if you don't pay attention, if you're one of those trigger happy individuals and you love to fire everything you have, you're going to barbecue this thing. Your pilot's going to be sweating hard, and he's going to be smashing on the restart button as this thing's doing, mech is shutting down. Yep, that's that sound. So, how do I use this mech? So basically, I like to run this thing as a pure scout or anti-scouting role. Now, if you get into the anti-scouting role, I can't even talk here, I'm tongue-tied all of a sudden. But you see yourself looking at a light mech over there. Oh, yeah, this thing can do a number. Let's say you're facing your counterpart of another Jenner, and who happens to overheating himself because of a lot of firepower and he's running slow, oh, go ahead, run over there and give him some love, knock him down, blow some parts off of him or anything of that matter. But you're going to be facing the consequences of cooking yourself and finding yourself in the same detriment that maybe that other Jenner was sitting in. And next thing you know, you're the one that's getting the beat down. All right? So you have to balance the heat on this thing and not try to get too trigger happy. And that can be a problem sometimes with individuals. Because there's some people that I've played with over the years that just like, they want to fire everything they have on their mech, damn the heat on it, and after 2 turns, maybe 3, like this mech right here, in 3 turns of firing everything you have, this thing is going to shut down. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. So if you jump and fire everything, 3 turns, it's done. You're just a inert target with a -4 to be hit, and they're going to basically turn you into Swiss cheese. And you're not going to have to, let's pick up that mech sheet and just put it off the side because it's no longer a mech. It's a pile of scrap. So, what I like to do with this thing is, if I see a target or anything, so that, let's say if you're not one of those individuals that has a lance with some missile launchers, and you're using this guy to be the eyes and ears and spotting for these guys until they're pretty much their ammo bays are running dry, I like to dive this guy into a flank. Let's say you have a couple other heavy mechs and they're tearing some armor off somebody. Yeah, go ahead. Get into the right or left flank of somebody and try to focus fire in. Because with that SRM-4, that can be a really good weapon for crit hunting. But you have to think about how to balance that. You only got 10 heat, and if you run, which is usually the best way to use this thing, is run as max possible. That leaves you with 8 possible heat sinks on this thing. So you're basically going to fire 2 medium lasers and the SRM. So you want to do it that way. So basically you're going to be sitting with a couple medium lasers that are not going to be being used very much. Or you can fire 3 medium lasers if you want to forego the SRM. Now this mech does have a variant, which I like a lot, which is the F variant. And that variant gets rid of the SRM-4 and gives it more armor. So basically you're running around with a mech with 4 medium lasers without the SRM. So that frees up basically 3 tons that you can throw on this thing. So it's running around with 112, I think it is, 112 points of armor, which is really good. And this thing will excel really good at anti-scouting. Alright? So it's a mech that can get in position really quick, get into a flank of somebody, fire off like 3 medium lasers. You could fire the 4 and run, so that's going to put you at 14, but 4 up. You can do that for a turn, alright? And you're not going to worry about any modifiers to your movement. And then the next turn, you're going to have to drop off down to 2 and burn off some of that heat that you created. And then maybe the next turn you might fire 3, and then the next turn only fire 2. Kind of deal. That's one of those things you like to do. Now, some of the other drawbacks with this mech is that you don't have any hands. Plain and simple. You just got the little flipper arms on those things. So you're not going to be... If you got a scenario where you got to pick up some cargo or something, yeah, you can't do that. You can't punch with this thing. You could, but you're going to have some modifiers there. You're not going to, have any fun doing it. So you're better off with just getting into somebody's flank, kicking them, unload in. Say you get a Crusader or something that has some. You notice that he's got a lot of armor ripped off on the right side. This thing can displace really quickly, get into that right flank, maybe get right up next to him, give him a nice love tap with a kick after you unload with your 2 or 3 medium lasers, because you're probably running the F version. And then, okay, I'm a little hot, and this guy is going to turn around and want to do a number on me. I'm going to displace really quickly using my 11 movement with my run and get into some cover. Alright? That's basically how I like using this. Dive in. It's like knife fighting. Dive in real quick, do a nice little love tap, and get out, dive back in. Now, this could be a problem, though, if you get into like a city fight where you got a lot of, take some pilot checks and stuff like that in case you want to do a skid, slam into a building or something, because you made a nice high G turn. But more often than not, you're going to be spending a lot of your time fighting with open terrain or woods or something like that. So that, in a nutshell, is kind of like how I use this guy. Now, one version, like my brother, he's the Ice Fang, that's his call sign, is he likes to do with this thing, he'll drop off 2 medium lasers and then replace the SRM with an LRM-5. And that kind of makes it an interesting little support mech, because you're just doing a little bit of long-range plinking here and there, and then you can dive in and give them the 2 medium lasers and maybe pick a target a little farther out with the LRM-5. And he's had some success with that one over the years too, doing a hit here, hit there type of thing. But think about that one maybe as an option too, if you like to run LRMs instead of SRMs on your mech, which is kind of similar to if you run this one in conjunction of the one Locust that carries the LRMs. So imagine that version where you got a Jenner with an LRM-5 with some Locusts with some LRMs, and then maybe a Valkyrie. So you got a bunch of mechs that has some LRMs. And that can be an interesting little lance where you're going around and it's not a lot of heavy hitting, but it's a nooses hitting type of thing. And I've thought about doing that one before, or I've seen it done before pretty decently. So think about that one too. But overall, it's not a bad mech. You just have to watch what you're doing with this thing when it comes to heat management. It's definitely a heat management mech. You got to watch what you're doing with it. But I like running it. You'll see it on the battlefield if you ever play with me. You'll see it on occasion. Alright. You got anything or how you ever use it, some great battle or something, throw them down below and we'll talk with you later. Dr. Rex out.